Right, this is the demographic review, page 4. All right, World War I and 1920s, major migrations and immigrations and things we need to know. The Great Migration, what was it and why did it happen? Someone tell me, because we just talked about it today.
It's a big movement of blacks from the south to the north.
Very good. Movement of African Americans from the south to the north, and why were they moving? Jobs. And keep in mind, this is kind of like the first wave of it, and we're going to see an extension of the Great Migration in World War II as well. How did it impact the country at the time? Yeah, you see increased racial tension in the North. For the first time, you see this revitalization of the KKK, and the KKK is in the North now. And there were race riots in some urban areas because African Americans were now competing for jobs and housing and so forth. What was the positive impact it had? Yeah, the Harlem Renaissance, the birth of jazz music, because again, African Americans are living in communities. They're going to communicate, organize, and this is a stepping stone to the civil rights movement. All right. The 1920s, other than the Chinese Exclusionary Act in 1873, which you might want to write in the margin there, other than the Chinese Exclusionary Act of 1873 and the Gentlemen's Agreement in 1907, which banned Japanese immigration for a while.
Other than which ones?
The Gentlemen's Agreement in 1907. That was just an agreement between Roosevelt and Japan. They would limit immigration to America if we would stop segregating Japanese students in American schools. This is the first time we have laws that restrict immigration. Why do we begin to restrict immigration in the 1920s and after World War I?
There was another really large influx of immigrants.
Okay, yeah, there are immigrants wanting to come over, but why do we start to restrict them? Yeah.
The Red Scare.
Yes, the Red Scare. We feel like they're taking jobs, and just overall a general feeling of nativism because we don't like them coming in with their different language, their different skin color. And a lot of the second wave of immigrants, they were coming from countries that were not democracies. So they did not know how to participate in democracy, which is why the political machines were so powerful. You know, immigrants didn't understand the voting process and so forth, and they took advantage of that. Okay? So, how did we limit immigration in the 1920s?
Is there an Emergency Quota Act?
Yeah, there was the National Origins Act and then the Emergency Quota Act. And they both put limits on how many immigrants could come from each country. And again, it went all the way back to the census first in 1910, 3% of like whatever was here from Italy, that's how much could come over from Italy. And then the second one went back all the way to 1890, and it was 2% of the current the population at that time. Also, literacy tests. Okay.
Wasn't there another Quota Act after that?
There was the 1927 one too. Yeah. Okay. Examples of intolerance. What are some examples of the anti-immigrant feeling in our country? Yeah, the Sacco and Vanzetti case, the Italian anarchists who were accused of murder with little evidence. When the KKK makes a comeback, who else do they hate besides African Americans? Immigrants. Yes, immigrants. And also, you could put down the Palmer raids during the Red Scare, because that definitely targeted Russian immigrants.
I'm just curious, what were the dates of the National Origins Act and
1921, 1924, and 1927 were the 3 quota acts. Okay. Then the Great Depression, as far as migrations during that. First of all, we had lots of people moving because everybody was just searching for work. But the Dust Bowl caused a major migration. Where did people in the central part of the country affected by the Dust Bowl move to? John?
West.
West to?
California.
California, Oregon. And what do we call those people?
Okies and Arkies.
Okies, Arkies, okay? And what did they do when they got to California and Oregon? For work? Migrant farmers, okay? If farmers didn't leave their homes because of the Dust Bowl, they had to leave their homes because of foreclosure. And if they didn't move west, where's the other place farmers moved? Cities, urban areas, okay, hoping to get work. Okay, other demographic changes during the Great Depression. You had more single women with children, and that's because husbands abandoned the families or they committed suicide. There were smaller families in general because it was expensive to have children. And we have lots of homelessness, okay? And don't forget the huge Hoovervilles or shanty towns that spring up in urban areas. All right, World War II. Key migrations. We have Mexicans migrating. What do we call that movement? The Braceros. And why did Mexicans migrate to the United States? John?
We needed people to work the farms.
We needed people to work on the farms, especially during the harvest. So we basically relaxed immigration laws to help with that. And they became migrant farmers. What kind of things did this lead to in our country? Yeah, you're going to start to have racial tension in the areas where Hispanics are moving, like California. And so we have the Zoot Suit riots between the Mexican gang members who wore the baggy clothing and the U.S. servicemen. Okay, African Americans, where are they migrating? North and west for work. And so this is the second part of really the Great Migration. You could also say a lot of them, for the first time, moved from rural areas in the South to urban areas of the South if it was an urban area where there were war industries. So that's also key for why we'll have the Civil Rights Movement, because a lot of it's going to be centered in those urban areas down in the South. That leads to racial tension again in northern cities, some race riots. But also, they begin to organize better in organizations like the NAACP, where membership goes up, and CORE. And it gives them more voting power, because in the North, they do vote. And so it gives them a little bit more political power. Therefore, this migration during World War II is the root of the Civil Rights Movement, just like the first one is.